purpose of the Flick-Reedy Education Enterprises is to promote individual moral responsibility through education. How do we do this? We study and discuss the interrelationships of history, philosophy, social studies, and economics. We do not dictate. We do not make statements as to what we think you should or should not do. We do not unduly burden this program with footnotes, references, or complete documentation. However, we do give sufficient data to bring this discussion into proper focus. We invite you to delve further into the necessary historical and statistical data to develop a deeper understanding of truth and a keener sense of individual moral responsibility.
What would you say to your child, or possibly your grandchild, if he or she asked you,
"Why is it that our country can produce so much more than other countries?"
Let's see if we can work out an answer. I believe our freedoms have made this possible. What are some of these freedoms?
Freedom to work.
Workers in our country may choose their occupations and the area in which they would like to live, work, and raise their families. Of course, they have to demonstrate their abilities in the occupation of their choice, or persuade a prospective employer that it would be a good thing to train them in it. We cannot properly evaluate or appreciate this blessing of working where and at what job we want until we examine the horrible realities of the other system, where man is told what work they may do, have their wages fixed by powers beyond their control, and are frozen to their jobs.
Freedom to dream.
Man's goals, aims, purposes, and desires enter into the basic concept of freedom in our system. Our nation has benefited enormously from the accumulation of the brain power, the idea power of all people, unrestricted by governmental power or control. Freedom to dream permitted Henry Ford to work out inexpensive, mass-produced automobiles. Freedom to dream permitted Thomas Edison to come up with the idea of the incandescent light bulb. Freedom to dream enabled George Washington Carver to add greatly to the Southern economy by the many byproducts usable from Southern agriculture. The American system encourages and challenges people to dream and provides the climate under which they can create, invent, produce, and build to the benefit of all of the rest of the people.
Freedom to compete.
The dreamer does not have a monopoly on the production of useful things. Ford has patents on processes, product name, and other things, but that didn't prevent other people from producing automobiles. The consumer has the choice of the market. The consumer is the final boss on what he buys. What, for example, happened to the Edsel? Or, for some of you old-timers, the Stutz Bearcat, the Franklin, Rio, and many more. To continue in existence, a product or service must continue to win the buyer's dollars.
Freedom to advance.
In the free market, free enterprise system, only the best producers and competitors succeed. This is not unfair. This is moral. It causes the public, the buyers, to be assured of the ability of those upon whom they depend for products and services. Moreover, the individual himself is free to improve his position. He may sharpen his skills, talents, and knowledge, and advance in position and stature. Again, this is a moral system. It is moral because it places advancement on the basis of value to your fellow man, rather than by the whim and fancy of favor. It is moral because it strives toward excellence rather than being content with mediocrity.
Freedom to invest in the tools of production.
The American free enterprise system has provided the reward incentive for a high rate of investment in production tools and equipment. The resulting increase in productivity has reduced the average work week of the employees almost one-half in the last 100 years. This higher productivity has also increased the buying power of wages almost 7 times what it was 100 years ago. We have the privilege of saving and investing our savings as we see fit. Business, big and small, is really people's money at work, in the most even distribution of wealth the world has ever known. Not all investments and ideas turn out good, however. Some fall by the wayside, go bankrupt, lose money. But at least when this happens, only a relatively few people are hurt. Certainly not the whole nation. When the government planners make a mistake, even though they be well-meaning, it hurts the whole country. Social planners would like us to change our present system to a system in which character, industry, and ability are not the factors which determine reward. They would judge the distribution of reward upon the basis of need, without regard to merit. This can only lead to the loss of national character and integrity, because it would reward incompetence, and in some cases even laziness. Under this situation, how long would you expect the competent and good workers to keep working hard and giving their best? It would be equal to moral decay, and would eat away the foundations of our society. Do you recall the part of St. Paul's letter to the Thessalonians in which he said,
He that will not work, neither let him eat.
So that there is no possible misunderstanding, know that I am aware that it says, will not work. It does not say, cannot work. Our national and individual morals, ethics, and spirituality does not include allowing unfortunate people, incapable of working, to go hungry or suffer want. The development of industrial tools is a byproduct of our freedom to invest. Better tools result in higher productivity per worker, better wages, improved products at a lesser price for the buying public. Let's examine production in the United States 100 years ago. Animals did 75% of the work. Men contributed 15% of the work, and machines and machine power did 10% of the work. In the United States today, machines and machine power do in excess of 95% of the work. Animals do almost nothing now, and men less than 5%. Output and earnings have multiplied many times, largely because of our extremely high investment in industrial tools. Think for a moment about the capital investment required to permit your job to exist. In industrial classifications, the average investment per employee today is about $25,000. In manufacturing, about $22,000. In railroads, about $33,000. In utilities, about $38,000. An average of about $13,500 per job is required in invested capital today for every job that exists. How can we create more jobs, decrease unemployment, and provide work for the increasing numbers of the younger generations? Among other things, we must provide a climate that encourages further capital investment. It is the cornerstone of the job-creating process. Have we, as a nation, perhaps forgotten this in our overall tax programs? Remember the story of the man who killed the goose that laid the golden egg? How much more far-sighted have we been? Now let's go back to the formula we looked at earlier and see if we can obtain more meaning from it. Man's material welfare is equal to natural resources plus human energy multiplied by tools. We can't do anything about increasing the supply of natural resources, can we? How about human energy? Yes, we can expend a little more or less than other people. But I think you would agree that the difference is really not too great. The potential human energy of people is very nearly the same. The one vital factor is tools. And notice that the value of tools is multiplied, not added, as the other two factors are. It seems obvious, then, that man's material welfare can be advanced to the greatest degree when the factor of tools is high. This is the path to greater goods and services for all of us, and this equates to a higher standard of living through the creation of more real wealth. What produces more and better tools? Capital investment, of course. How do we create the climate that will induce more capital investment? This takes us back to our cornerstones of our capitalistic system talked about earlier. We must improve the climate regarding private ownership of property, the profit incentive, the open competitive market or free market. Because of our abundance of productive tools, total number of jobs and employees has increased at the same time that hours per man per week have gone down, and output per man-hour goes up. The increase in output per man-hour has averaged 18% greater for every 10-year period since 1850. What will you do to preserve our free enterprise competitive system? I hope that what we have covered thus far has dispelled any of the bad feeling you may have had about the capitalist free enterprise free market economic system, which the socialist communists have been trying to abolish almost unceasingly since 1848. Their efforts have stepped up considerably in recent years. What? You say that economics is dull stuff? Well, unless you and I are ready, willing, and able to stand up to these socialist communist ideas, no matter by whom presented as new gospel, we stand a good chance of losing our economic system. Are you able to show how and where the socialist communist ideas are unworkable and that ours are extremely workable? If you are able, have you transmitted the knowledge to your children, your friends, neighbors, business associates, and employees in a way that they can understand them? If you have done that, you are indeed a rare person. Have you found yourself drifting in the strength with which you were once able to defend our economic system, almost ashamed to defend it from all enemies, foreign and domestic? Then maybe we need to study a little more. These few minutes we spend together can but scratch the surface. Will you go on to learn or relearn more? If you will, our time together will have achieved an excellent objective. May I recommend either or both of two books, short in length and easy to read, that would do for a starter. Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt, and How We Live by Fred Clark and Richard Rimanacci. These will be included in the recommended bibliography at the close of the session. And ladies, don't let them tell you that economics is a field of learning exclusive for the male of the species, or that it's just too complicated for you. Jump right in and give those men a run for their money. Assuming for a moment that the current status of our national fiscal policy and national debt may be attributed to the menfolk, ask them if they will let you operate your household budget the same way. How about a little but continued deficit spending? Certainly that new hat or whatever it is just as important in your house as the welfare programs being conducted and proposed are to the government. For whether men like it or not, ever since the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, you ladies have had as much of a voice in our government as the menfolk. It is therefore vital that you become informed in this field of economics. As one lady of my acquaintance said recently,
"Could we do worse?"
There is today, and has been for almost 20 years, a vivid example of the comparison between the free enterprise, free market economic system and the socialist communist economic system. That vivid living example exists in the two Berlins, East Berlin under the socialist communist economic system and West Berlin under the free enterprise system. Here in the two Berlins, due to circumstances of World War II, we have a once united city, now divided sharply by a concrete barbed wire wall into two cities, with different economic systems operating side by side. This is almost as scientifically perfect a controlled experiment as it is possible to obtain in the field of sociology. We have a people that are the same, with the same language, same background, same everything, except the economic systems under which they have existed since the end of World War II. West Berlin, under the free enterprise system, is alive, growing, bustling, just as is West Germany as a whole. East Berlin, under socialist communist economy, is like a graveyard. No wonder Russia wants so much to unite both Berlins under socialist communist rule. It is a painful showcase for them. It shows how poor their economic system is compared to ours. Unless you have had the good fortune to be able to travel to the two Berlins and see for yourself, I recommend you see a 12-minute movie film titled The Two Berlins, produced by the National Education Program at Searcy, Arkansas. It really brings the point home on the comparative values of the two economic systems. Remember the two Berlins as a vivid, current example of the two worlds. Whenever an effort is made to downgrade our capitalistic economic system, remember the two Berlins. When a socialist program is proposed for adoption in our local, state, or federal legislatures, remember the two Berlins. The decisions you come to, the actions you take today, will determine what kind of a world you will help pass on to your children and grandchildren. Each of us bears this responsibility to them. Thomas Jefferson must have had some of these same ideas as he made the following statements.
Government should no longer waste the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them. A wise and frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another, shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned.